Great. All right. Well, it's 11:03, so we can get started. So that way, if anyone just has like a quick question you want to ask us, you can pop off when you don't have any more questions. So welcome everyone. My name's Rita. I'm the vice president of the Plastic Wave Project. So if you've gotten emails from me, here I am. And then we have Nadia and Erica. If you guys want to introduce yourself, or I can just say it, but go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Erica. Hi, everyone. I am one of the other vice presidents of Plastic Wave Project, and I'm really excited to have you all here. Please feel free to pop in any questions in the chat, or once we're done, you can pop off of mute and then ask your questions, and we'll try to answer them as best as you can. I'm going to be taking notes, so Nadia and Rita's going to be more so interacting with everyone, and just again, we're happy that you guys are here.
Sorry, I'm muted. Sorry, I was muted. I'm Nadia. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm excited for spring. This warm weather has got me itching for spring. So I guess we could get started on some questions. Does anyone want to go first? Anyone have any questions? Has anyone not been out? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to ask. I had done the beach scan in December and sent it in, and I didn't get a response. And I just wanted to make sure that you guys got it, or maybe I didn't send it correctly.
Did you email it?
Yeah.
Then we probably got it.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, we probably got it. We didn't necessarily. I tried to email everyone back thanks, but I could have just missed it. But we probably got it.
Okay.
I will write down your name though and double check after the meeting. But
yeah, I wrote it down. I'll make sure I have it written down, and then I'll get back to you and let you know if we have it.
Okay. I guess you have my email.
Mm-hmm.
You do. Okay.
So all of the people that sent us emails and responded on the classroom, we've already gotten your data into a system, and we've been looking through it. So I'm pretty sure we did get yours, but
okay.
I will double check.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And we could always send you an email to confirm.
Okay, so in the chat we have from Wendy. She wants to know if we can explain the overall process and why we only take 3 scoops from each meter. How deep should the scoop be?
Okay, so actually we do it's technically 9 scoops from each meter square. That was kind of an arbitrary number that we picked just to make things easy to remember, since everything was kind of in groups of 3s. So that's why we picked 3 scoops. When you put your meter square down on the sand, you start in one spot and you take 3 scoops, put it in your sifter, sift it out. Then you pick another spot, 3 scoops, sift it out. A third spot, 3 scoops, sift it out. Now, that's what it is right now. And we do actually have a video training on our website that shows in depth all those processes. And we are going to be changing how we take the scoops to make it like a more concrete amount that we're scooping. But since this is only the second year, we were still kind of figuring out what we actually wanted that to be. So take a look at the video training on our website. If you haven't already, that'll explain the overall process, but I'll kind of run through it, speaking it as well while we're on here. So basically you'll pick your beach. There's 3 different locations on the beach that you take 3 different samples at. So one's going to be in the dune, one's going to be in the high tide, and one's going to be on the low tide. So you'll want to go to your beach at as close to low tide as you can. And then on each of those 3 lines on the beach, you'll put your meter square down 3 times. And like I kind of described before, you'll take the 3 scoops in 3 different spots, and that'll be like 1 sample. So then you'll have 9 different samples. So 3 from the low tide, 3 from the high tide, and 3 from the dune line. And then that's pretty much it. And then you'll go home with your like sand and rocks and plastics. You'll sort through them, and then you'll basically count the amount of plastic pieces that you found, enter it into a data sheet. And this year we're actually going to be sending out a link. So instead of having to email us a like screenshot or a scanned video to make it easier for everyone, you will actually be emailing out a link where you can just like type everything in to make it a little easier. So if you don't have access to like a scanner or like a printer or something, but we're pretty flexible with that. If that's better for you, you can probably do that as well. And that's pretty much it. There is a big, if you haven't joined our Google Classroom, definitely join our Google Classroom, because we all like, we'll send out reminders in there. I also send out emails too. So if you can't join the Google Classroom, that's all right. But you have access to there's a big document that explains everything. It's not that big, it's like 4 pages, but that explains everything in detail, the methods, definitions, what you'll need, everything on our website and in our Google Classroom. And I'll also be emailing that out to everyone as well, closer to the 20th, which I guess it's pretty close to the 20th now. But that's a general overview. Did I answer all your questions, Wendy?
She also wants to know, is there a size needed for the mesh to sift?
So good question. Eventually, we hope to be able to provide everyone with a standardized mesh sifter. But for now, use whatever you have. We used an old window screen, and I believe the mesh size for a standard window screen is about like 1.4 millimeters or something around there. So between like 1 and 2 millimeters mesh size is probably good, because anything smaller than that's going to be really hard to see for something like this. And microplastics are technically, anything smaller than 5 millimeters. But for this study, if it's a little bigger than that, like if it's 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, that can still kind of count as your microplastic count, because eventually that's going to break, those little pieces are going to continue to break down. So a window screen size, or like if you have anything like a colander that's kind of like around that size, that's what I would recommend. Nadia, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you covered that all.
Okay, so our next, oh, sorry, Rita, are you?
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, just we don't want it to be super like, we don't want you to go out and buy like super specific expensive things for this beginning stages, because as we're like, doing a pilot study basically to figure out the best way to do this. So if you have something that like really isn't working, let us know. So that way we can change the way that we, communicate around the methods. So for right now, it's just kind of like, okay, I have like this sifter that I use for gardening, so I'm just going to use that. But yeah, eventually, hopefully we'll be able to provide like more standardized tools, so that way the results can be actually used and standardized and stuff like that.
Okay, so our next question is, can you it's from Carol, and she wants to know if we can talk about the new process for submitting data.
Yes, so it's not complete yet. I'm still working on it. But in the past, so in the winter, we had everyone just email or submit their data sheet and a sample submission sheet, which was just a picture of the microplastics on a piece of paper, over email or over on Google Classroom. This time, in order to make it easier, it's basically going to be like, I'll send you a link for a Google form, and you'll just type in you'll basically transfer your data sheet onto the Google form. So it'll just like ask you the same questions that's on the data sheet. So like, what's your name? What day did you go out? What beach did you go out? And you'll just type it in. And again, like if you have any problems with that, or like if it's not working, you can also just email it to us too. And we can do it on our end. So it's going to just be like a link I send out, and then you'll just fill it out, and that'll be like how you enter the data. So things won't get lost over email or anything like that.
Yeah, the reason why we're trying to do the Google form is just so that way we don't have to just manually input one by one everyone's information. We think it'll be easier to have you guys fill out the information yourselves, and then it automatically gets put into a Google Doc, so that way we can analyze the data eventually. So Tori wants to know if we can submit more than one, if she can submit more than one study. For instance, one day I go to Ship Bottom and submit, and another day I go to Harvey Cedars and submit.
Yes, absolutely. You can definitely go out more than once throughout the 2-week season if you want to. That would be great. And you can just submit multiple data sheets and pictures. And as long as it has the date and the location, that's totally fine. And then there was another question I just saw.
Yeah, it says I have
To take pics. Yes.
Do you want
So, since we're talking about the submitting the data, what I'll probably do is I'll have like an area where you can attach pictures of the microplastic sheets. I haven't like figured out what the best way to do that is quite yet. But I'll be in communication with everyone over email about that. It might just be emailing them again if I can't figure that out. But yeah, you'll still have to take a picture of like the sheet, the sample submission sheet where you put all the microplastics on there with the ruler. Yeah. Okay.
There was another question. I don't know if we answered it. It says, I have 68 students. Do you want 68 that they work in teams?
So I would recommend working in teams just because I feel like doing this with like 2 or 3 people is actually better. So you can kind of work as a team. But I mean, if you want to do 68 or like, I don't know, 30 different places, so I have a question for Wendy, who asked that question. Do you know if your students are going to be going to the same place? You can. Okay.
If you're going to the same place, I would maybe just do it as one data sheet because it's all of the same information. If you have students splitting up and going to different sites, then I would send in separate data sheets. But I would say if we're all going to the same place, let's keep it as, one sample site.
Yeah, or if they go out on different days, that would be 2 different sheets, even if it's the same site, because every day you're going to find different things. So I would say if it's a different day but the same site, 2 different. But if it's the same site, the same day, it should just be 1.
So can you hear me?
That answers the question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So if I broke the group up into 9 smaller groups and they each went and took one of those 9 3x3s,
Yeah.
is that one
That's
data?
one.
That's one data set.
That's one data sheet. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
and that would be a good way to do it, actually.
My only thing is they'd be taking their samples at even though they're at the same, location, they might be dropping their meters at in different spots, which would get different information.
Yeah, but if one group is working on the low tide line and one group is working on the high tide line, then isn't that one sample automatically? Yeah. So yeah, it would still be, I think, one data sheet.
Yeah, it would be.
All right, now you're really confusing me. So is each square meter one data sheet?
No.
The whole
each
9 of them.
Square meter is one sample.
Wait,
and the whole 9 is one data sheet.
Data sheet. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and it'll make more sense if you have you looked at the data sheet and the videos and stuff? I think this is kind of hard to talk about over Zoom without showing the physical process. I feel like the in-person trainings, it makes a lot more sense because it's numbers and everything, but yeah.
No, I did look everything over and I did
good.
try to whip it into some kind of shape for my students to follow. Mm-hmm. And then my next other question was, you said there's a 2-week window. And I'm worried that we might be remote and not in that window.
That's what I need to get.
That's okay. I mean, it's from the spring sampling season starts on the 20th and goes until the 4th. If you can't get out till later than that, it's all right. Just let us know the day. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
not, again, yeah, it's not super strict. You know, it's more important that they're getting out there and seeing it than anything else, in my opinion.
Yeah, we'll take the date into consideration, but don't really worry about whether or not you actually access the beach during that 2-week window, because again, just to remind everyone, this is a pilot study, which means that this is still brand new to us. We just really want to get everyone familiar with what microplastics look like and the process of how to collect them. And that's pretty much it. Once we kind of get you guys familiar with it and get everyone accustomed to what to do, then we'll kind of make the process a little bit more in depth and give you more specific instructions onto how to sample it. But for right now, we just want you guys to get comfortable and familiar with the beach, familiar with the process, and that's pretty much it.
I just am looking at a question. What do you do with the information collected?
No, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted
Yeah.
to add something here. I'm sorry. But I've known Wendy for a little bit. I know her class for a little bit. It might be helpful with Wendy's and with math students in general, if we just did like an individual training just for those students and for that group.
You can do that.
We can definitely do that. That's okay.
You know, maybe I think the students are not back at school right now, so maybe when they come back in, I don't know, a couple weeks or something, maybe we could set something up where we can go out and do an individual training for them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
we could definitely do that too, for sure. So if if the spring is too like quick and you can't, and it's, maybe we're not ready for it, we can just do it whenever we're ready. For the math students, like if we want to get a training in and they can do it in the summer one or whenever day, it's not super strict.
Okay, because we have like literally 4 days before spring break that we'll probably be in.
Yeah.
3 of them will be in days. And so after spring break probably would lend itself better to.
That's fine. No worries. Yeah, no worries. Then we'll definitely, whenever you guys are free to do the training, we'll definitely help you out. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Do you want me to go with the
I got it. I see the next question.
Oh, okay.
Corey, what do you do with the information collected? So that's a great question. We actually we're in the works of teaming up with Cornell students who are doing masters and PhDs in microplastic transport around the Jersey Shore. So what exactly they're going to be doing with it, I don't 100% know all the details yet. But hopefully within the next year, we'll be able to have a more concrete answer for you, but most likely they'll be using it for their master's and PhD theses. I was about to say but and then hopefully, so their goals with their master's and PhD is they want to create basically like a monitoring study, so that way it can be used to inform decisions on the government level. So like regulations, what areas need more focus on cleanups, like so basically, yeah. I don't know, Erica, I feel like you might have more.
I was gonna say I can chime in. So one of the things that we hope to do with this information is we would hope to get a finalized map showing where there's a lot of microplastics and when there's a little bit of microplastics, and hopefully we can use that to kind of educate the state and let local officials know where exactly we should be targeting or what beaches are actually a sink or an accumulation for the particles, so that way we can get something done as far as like legislation goes for that information. No, you're welcome. Any other questions? Feel free to chime in. Joe, I see you unmuted,
Yeah,
so go ahead.
This is perfect segue. I'm sorry to interrupt. Perfect segue.
Oh, you're fine, Joe. Don't worry. You're fine.
We have Save Coastal Wildlife and the Plastic Wave Project teamed up for a cleanup on Plum Island on Sunday, April 25th. I believe it's from 10 to 12. And that's because Plum Island is just a horrible, well, it's a beautiful place, but the sand is just riddled with microplastics. So it is one of those sinks.
It's
So
one of the places that we take our volunteers because we know that you guys are going to see microplastics, as sad as that sounds, but that's kind of the area that we want you guys to see, so that way you know what you're looking for when you go to your cleaner beaches. Yeah.
So please mark your calendar for Sunday, April 25th from 10 to 12. The good news also too is the state has now increased the amount of people that can gather outdoors. It used to be 25, now it's 50. So we could technically have 50 people showing up to that cleanup. There will be registration though, so there'll be an email coming out from Safe Coastal Wildlife, which I'm sure will be shared through the Plastic Wave Project. So please pre-register for the cleanup, and we'd love to have you though.
Wendy wants to know, what do we need to bring on April 25th, if anything? I believe like gloves, right? That's something that, or we'll probably hand that out.
Well, so the Monmouth County Clean Communities will be there as well too. Usually have gloves, but it's always best, especially with COVID, to bring your own gloves, and you have to bring masks.
Oh yeah, definitely your mask. Sorry.
Yeah, all that stuff. So gloves and mask, I say, would be the only thing. And then what's great also for the Plastic Wave Project, you're going to be there with your sieves and all that stuff as well too. That you're going to show people how to look for microplastics and things.
And feel free to bring the kiddies, because I always bring my 5-year-old, and she loves to sift through the sand and get involved. So feel free to bring the little ones. Yeah, we hope to see you guys there. Any other questions? Wendy wants to know, what do we do with the plastic after? This is a great question, Nadia. Rita, you guys take it from there.
Yeah. So currently, another thing that's kind of in the works is there is going to be a art show in Atlantic Highlands in April. I forget the exact dates, but it's going to be about microplastics. It's the Atlantic Highlands Arts Council, ourselves, the Atlantic Highlands Elementary School, Clean Ocean Action, and I think someone else, I'm blanking, but we're putting together like a Earth Day art show installation at the Arts Council, the Atlantic Highlands Arts Council on First Avenue in Atlantic Highlands. And I'm trying to figure out if it makes sense to kind of allow the artists to use the plastic that's collected, but I'm not sure, like in terms of, I don't know, I'm just not sure about that yet. But unfortunately, microplastics are not recyclable. So after you take the sample, you just have to throw them away. If we're not going to be collecting them for like reusing them in art, or if there's anything that you feel like you could reuse them for, you can, like if you wanted to make art. But
well,
sorry,
thank you, whoever upgraded the meeting.
That's pretty much it. They don't really have you can't recycle them. So you do have to throw them away.
One of the things that we talked about was we wanted to see if we can do some kind of hands-on experience with kids and see if they can make their own art out of the microplastics, and then kind of showcase that at the art show, something like that. There are I was going to talk to Rita and Nadia, you guys, about this too. There's a couple of places that I've seen that are actually taking microplastics, and there's a woman that's making like earrings and stuff like them out of them. So we can possibly ask her if she would take them, and then we can use them for her small business. That's cool.
Yeah.
So it's still in the works to see what we can do.
A children's project could be too, where you could make, you know how you make the stepping stones they used to do with like other glass pieces and things. Maybe a kid's project could be where you take plaster of Paris and then they use, you know, the microplastics as, you know, within their stepping stones, and you know, to place in their garden at home or whatever, as kind of a art project.
That's a great
that idea.
recommendation. I'm gonna write that down because we were talking about it, but we wasn't really sure what we can use it with. I didn't think about the plaster, so I'm gonna write that down. Thank you so much, Lisa.
You're welcome. I have one question. So I work a crazy retail schedule, and for instance, I'm off on the 19th. I know the project starts on the 20th. I already have my sieve and my things ready to go. So if I were to go out on my own and take some plastics and, you know, fill my jars, do you want just like a location, the amount of time I was there and things of that nature, or are there specific parameters that we're working within?
Yeah, there's a data sheet you have to fill out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on our website and in our Google Classroom. So if you're not part of our Google Classroom, definitely join that. But yeah, basically it's like the location, the start time, the times of the tides, the weather.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just a simple little data sheet that you can print out and fill out while you're doing it, or beforehand or after.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. What size is considered microplastic? I find lots of plastic on beaches, large and small. Yes. So the technical definition of a microplastic is any plastic debris that's under 5 millimeters in diameter. For this study, it's really whatever ends up on the top of your sieve. So like a smaller plastic pieces, I would say like anywhere between, depending on your sieve size, you know, 1 millimeter to a centimeter or a couple centimeters would be considered our microplastics. But technically it's anything under 5 millimeters would be a microplastic. And yes, so actually on the data sheet, there's a section for additional comments. So if you are sifting through and you notice that there's like a lot of macroplastic, so like full plastic bottles, like not fragments, like plastic bags, whatever it is, you can actually write that down. And I think I just recently updated the data sheet, just a couple of different changes. So if you've done it before, it'll look a little bit different this time. And like ask, like, did you find macroplastics? So yeah, so definitely take note of that while you're doing your sampling, if you do find a lot of macroplastics as well, or anything like weird, like tires or something.
Tires is actually, if no one knows, tires are actually another form of microplastics. So over time they wear off and start to shed. Those fibers that are made from the tires are types of microplastics. And there's actually been studies done that was just posted that tires are one of the #1 microplastics along with clothing in the environment. Fun fact.
Okay, and then I just pulled up the new data sheet. Do you want me to share my screen and show you the new data sheet? Okay. Let's see if I can do that. Okay. Oh, Nadia, can you just allow me to share my screen?
How do I do that? Oh, how do I do that? Hold on one second, Rita.
While we're waiting for Nadia and Rita to pull up the screen, if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, or you can take yourself off mute and also say your question out loud. And also, if you're paying attention to the chat, I did write that if anyone has any recommendations for ways that we can reuse the microplastics that's collected, please put your suggestions. I'm writing them all down because, again, we're trying to figure out what we can do with them since they aren't recyclable.
Rita, I just changed you to the host, so maybe you can share your screen now?
Yes. Let's see. All right. Okay. Can everyone see this okay? Yeah.
Yes, looks good.
Okay. So this is it looks pretty similar to the other one, but I just changed it a little bit. So you'll write your name, your date, the date that you go out, not your date. The location, so the name of your beach and the town, and then I also, if you can, include your GPS coordinates. That's also very helpful for the Cornell students that we're working with. And you can also like find those afterwards by just like Googling it, like the location, so approximate GPS coordinates. The moon phase, which we asked for because we're curious about if tides have any effect on the amount of plastic that winds up on the beach. So the start time, so when you start your sampling, the end time when you end, the time of the low tide that you go out, so that day, and the time of the next high tide. And Joe usually provides all the like high and low tide times for the 2-week period in the Google Classroom and over email. But you can also look it up, just say like tide times of your location, and it should come right up. The temperature of the day. So I think the previous one said like weather, or it just wasn't like as clear. So I just changed it to say temperature, degrees Fahrenheit. That's it. And then the water conditions. So if it's really calm, if there's big waves, if it's stormy water, stuff like that. And then also another important one is recent weather events. So if it had been raining for a week straight before, if it hasn't been raining, if there was a snowstorm, stuff like that is also, that can affect, what winds up where. So that's something that was on the previous one, but still is there. And then here is other notes about sampling day. Did you find any macroplastics? Did you see wildlife? Anything else you'd like to add? So anything of importance, like we found a lot of it was mostly our microplastics were mostly nurdles, or they were mostly plastic fragments, or anything that you found to be interesting or important during your sampling day. Or if you noticed other people cleaning up the beach, or anything really, whatever you feel like is kind of interesting. A lot of science is just observing. So whatever you observe, you can write it down there. And then this is the newest part. So I just added like a little chart so you can keep track of the number of microplastics you find in each sample. So after you sample and you come home and you sort everything out, you have the dune, the high and the low, sample 1, 2, 3, and you'll just write down how many microplastics you find in each sample, and then total everything up at the bottom here. And then this will be submitted to us through a Google form. So basically the Google form will ask you all these same things, and you'll just type it in, and that I'll send out to you through a link that you can just access. Or if you can't, if it's better to just email the data sheet, that's also fine as well. So whichever way is easier for you to get the data to us works for us. All right. So those are the changes to the data sheet, and they're also the new ones available on Google Classroom, on our website, everything. Yeah.
One thing I'd like to add, when filling out your data sheet, even if you didn't find any microplastics during your sampling, please fill out all of the data, because it's important that we have all of that information. When I was going through some of the winter samplings, I noticed that if some people didn't find microplastics, they didn't fill out the sheet, and it's important that we have all of that information still, even if you didn't find any microplastics.
Yeah, so you'll just write 0 everywhere, but still have like the time and everything like that, because it's important to know that there wasn't any. Just as important, it's just as important to know that there wasn't anything, than there was a lot.
And there may be a reason why you didn't see any that day for your sampling, and maybe you go back in the summer after a storm and now there's microplastics everywhere. So it's important to fill out all that data so that we can kind of compare and contrast, like why you found some, why you didn't find any. So if that makes sense to you all.
Mm-hmm.
I heard
All
someone.
right.
Any other questions or concerns, suggestions? Everyone has those of you who have participated in the study, are you guys comfortable with the sampling? How do you feeling good? Okay, good. We just want you to be comfortable about everything because we know that this is new for us, this is new for you guys, so we're just trying to have everyone's input so that way we can make this as easy but also effective.
And Carol, did you have a question?
I just wanted to mention one thing that we found that made things a little easier was I had a collection of those, the billing envelopes with the glassine, which are not recyclable, but we use those. So I make up a packet for each beach. I put the data sheet in and got 9 of those window envelopes because I'm teamed up with one of my classmates from the Master Naturalist program. And he's an environmental engineer and he's out and about. So it's easier for him to, do a good variety of sampling, but the envelopes make it really easy. And then he returns everything to me, the sheet and, all the envelopes labeled. And then I do the sorting and the data submission. But I don't want to, interfere with your training, but we found that the envelopes really made things, it was easier than jars.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, we said jars, but it's really like any container that works. It's totally fine.
Okay.
Sorry. There's a question, how often can we go back to the same location, 2-day period, 1-week period? So you're only going the one time out of those 2 weeks. So let's say you choose to go April 25th. That's the day of your sampling. And then the next time you would go back is for the next season. So let's say we're sampling in the summer, the next time you go back is in the fall. So you're only sampling that one day out of that 2-week period. The 2-week period is just the time frame that you have to sample. Does that make sense? Okay. Does that answer your question, Tori?
Yeah, she said okay.
But if somebody else shows up at that same place, that's okay too.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Good, because you're going to probably end up sampling different areas. And so that actually is interesting because then you can see where microplastics on that specific beach are building up. So it's fine if 2 people go to the same beach or one group goes to a different area on the beach. That's okay.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Are you all having fun doing the sampling? Has it been fun for you all? We want you to have fun.
So I guess there's no more questions. I think we're good, Rita. Is Rita? Oh, I thought Rita was frozen.
Yes, no, sorry, I was reading. Same question about how often you sample.
Mary
Okay,
said
yeah, I'm sorry that wasn't addressed in the video. But yes, you only go one day within the 2-week period. It's a 2-week period just so that way everyone goes around the same time. And it's like around like when the seasons change. But you only go one day. Yeah, so that's definitely something we'll have to add if that wasn't clear.
Yeah, I made a note of it. I'm gonna put that we need to add that into.
So thank you for bringing that to our attention.
Yes.
Also, can I just say that I think I tried to join the Google Classroom, but for some reason it wasn't letting me. And I'm trying to remember now what the message was.
Do you have a Gmail that you can use to join?
Well, yes, because we use Google Classroom at our school. So I don't know, maybe that was interfering with
I was
it.
gonna say it could be that you have to like choose a different email I don't know if you can, well, no, you should be able to join it.
I thought too.
Yeah, she should be able to join it. We can look into it and see. Maybe we need to add her into the.
Yeah.
Wendy, could you
type your email into the chat really quick, and I'll quickly try to add you right now.
Yeah. I wrote it down. Thank you.
Is anyone else having any issues finding resources, or if there's anything that's not super clear, or joining the Google Classroom? If you don't have to join the Google Classroom if you can't, but like it's great.
Yeah, I have a question about the Google Classroom. Where do you go to join that? How do you access it?
I will send the link in the chat, and I'll also email the link out as well if you get our emails. But I'll send the link in the chat if you want to do it like now with me. Or you know what you can do is you can type your email in the chat too, and I can add you on the back end. And if it does, sometimes you do need to have a Gmail account in order to access it. So if you don't have a Gmail, you might have to make a Gmail. Cool. Then it shouldn't be a problem. So let me see if I can add.
I was also going to mention that if you're using a Google Classroom atmosphere, if you created an assignment where people that were participating, they should be able to upload their pictures to that assignment.
Yes. So that's kind of what I was thinking about doing too. But not everyone's in the Google Classroom who is a volunteer. So yeah. So it's trying to make sure that everyone can get it in some way. But I was thinking about playing around with assignments to see if that would make things easier. But that's a really good idea. Maybe we'll do that too.
Yeah, we can do that for people who
write that down, and I'll see if I can play around with that. Wendy, I did just try to invite you with the CTEMC email, and it says that I cannot invite student from this domain. I don't know why. I did have the same issue with someone who had a NOAA email, and they had to use like a personal Gmail account. So it could just be because if the Monmouth County Vocational School District has like a separate domain, then I can't. Yeah, I'm not sure about the technology side of that, but
that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Wendy, it happened to me too. I had a Gmail account. It didn't work with what's going on with there, so I had to create another Gmail account. So, Google's a multi-corporation. They want as many Gmail accounts as possible. So.
I just sent the link to join the Google Classroom in the chat. It also, if you can't access it, you can also shoot us an email as well, and we can try to figure it out and communicate with you individually about how to get on. But I did just send the link. I believe it's also on our website. If it's not, I'm going to definitely add it.
And we'll also, Rita, we can also just send an email after this.
Yeah.
Giving people all the resources to everything. So they
I just sent one out yesterday with that.
Oh, it is. Yeah. It's in the email that we sent. Thank you, Mary.
Yeah. But if you have any issues at all, just email us, just to directly email us, and we can work with you individually to figure out what's going on. Cause I know sometimes it's everyone has technology sometimes is annoying. So, all right. Any other last burning questions?
Oh, okay. So Wendy put another email in the chat.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna try that right now because I have it up.
I'm gonna also write it down here just in case.
What I don't know right now is when you do invite me to this, I guess your invite or whatever will go to that email.
Yes, it just went.
I'll have to access this Google Classroom
with that email.
Yeah.
I guess once I find, I just bookmark it. Otherwise, I don't know how I would find it. That's what I don't know.
Find the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you can, if you are normally on Google Classroom through a different email, you can just switch what email account you're on by clicking. I think you click the, how you can switch between Gmail accounts.
Right.
So you can do the same thing and you just switch to the other one, and then this classroom associated with this email should show up.
Okay.
It should. That's because I have a bunch of Gmails too, and I have to like switch between in order to find it
Yeah.
sometimes. So I think that's probably what would solve that, if that works with you.
Or a different browser, perhaps.
Yeah, or yeah, but yep. Mm-hmm. All right.
So
Well, if
I have
oh yeah.
real quick, I have a Boy Scout troop that I work with, the merit and rank advancement leader. So this might be a nice outing for them, especially the younger ones, to come out and really take part in something that's important. What are your feelings on that? Is that okay to plan that as like a troop event, or?
Yeah, I think that's great. And like we said, if there's like coordination that needs to happen and you need us to do a different training for them, we definitely can do that.
Okay.
And if you need to go out like a different day, or like, if it's not within the window, that's also totally fine.
Okay.
But yeah, if you feel comfortable bringing them out and showing them what to do, that's perfect. That's a great idea.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah, and
it's,
if they need any,
it's been hard for, with COVID for them to find outside activities while still remaining socially distanced, but allowing them to, work towards their merit badges and just being, environmentally aware and things of that nature. So I just thought this might be a really good project for them too. Especially, the younger guys would probably really enjoy it.
Yeah. I missed if Rita said, but if you needed us to do like something independent with you guys, we will definitely help you out and give you whatever resources that you need.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any other questions, concerns, comments before we let you guys enjoy your beautiful Saturday out?
Nope.
Okay, Rita, I think you can.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining, and hopefully we got all your questions asked. And again, if anything else comes up, just email us. We're happy to answer any questions, jump on the phone, whatever you need. So yeah, I hope you enjoy your spring sampling, and let us know anything, any feedback, anything, just let us know, okay?
Awesome.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Guys, so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.